Alright, here's a continuation of the safety teams on holy ground. This is a church safety checklist. This is a basic checklist of things that you need to put in place to check off either annually, quarterly, or weekly to ensure your place of worship is safe and secure. It's not an exhaustive list, but it's a pretty good list. We'll start outside the building, trees and shrubbery. All shrubs and trees are trimmed to reduce hiding places for people and easy access to roof or upper floors if you have second stories. Also, you need to keep them trimmed back for safety reasons, and you need to keep your trees, make sure the limbs aren't dying, they couldn't fall, especially big ones. That's how the Texas Governor Greg Abbott got hurt. He's paralyzed. He was running one day and a tree limb fell on him and paralyzed him. So you don't want that to happen on your ground. So make sure all your trees and stuff are safe and secure. Signs are present showing locations for entry, including worship locations and office locations for visitors during the week. So you want to have signs saying, hey, this is where you go in for worship. Or if it's during the week, your offices are over here so people know where to go, because most places don't come in the same doors. You'll have a front door for the worship session, and then you'll have like a side door for the office. So it needs to be placed for people to find you, and they're not having to walk around the church and you're seeing them on camera and stuff like that. It's like, what are these people doing? Make sure that the signs are welcoming and they're not harsh or anything like that, but they're like visitors this way, stuff like that, members only, visitors this way, office, staff only, stuff like that. Fire escapes, the exits are properly labeled and the accesses are open and easy to reach. Make sure they can get out of them. Make sure they're not blocked. You have a fire exit, but you've got a door or something. They've been doing remodeling or something. It's not just laying in front of it. It's hard for people to get out. If equipment's out in the open, make sure it's secured, because I know a lot of places will have like ladders. It may be in a classroom or a room in the back, but it's not actually locked or whatever. People can still go in there. Make sure it's secured to that wall. It's chained down, locked down. Any equipment stored outside or in storage facilities is secured properly and inventoried with serial numbers and photos. And I actually suggest, inscribing on them, maybe your name or something, stuff you know you're going to keep in the long run. If not inscribing, put stickers where they're harder to find. So if they do end up in pawn shops, you can get your stuff back, or that way you can claim it on your insurance, especially the expensive equipment. Some of that stuff is high. HVAC serial numbers recorded. Again, I suggest inscribing markings. People will steal the copper out of it in a minute. I also suggest put a fence or cage around it. This would be for liability reasons, not only the theft, but the liability. There's been several times people have been trying to steal the copper out of the HVAC systems and hit the wrong wires, and they've died. And you're a lot safer if you have a cage around it or a fence around it that said, no entry, whatever. Then if they did go in, you'd be more covered from liability at that point. You still want your insurances to cover you and your lawyers, but you would be easier covered than if it's just out in the open and somebody grabbed hold of it and died. Sufficient lighting is present in all entrances, parking areas, and walkways, especially night services. You want the lighting out there. And again, the floodlights, you should put it out to a point where when people walk across the parking lot, they can't see you. It kind of blinds them for a second or two, and then you can profile them. So it's like, oh, that's Johnny. He's cool. He's coming in. But if it's somebody you see, it's like, they got a hoodie on. Something's in the front pocket of that hoodie. What is it? Then you can start casing and profiling. And if they saw you walking up, they've lost you for a couple seconds, you can get off point where you were. And then when they look back up, you're not there, and it kind of startles them for a second. And if it does, then you start talking to them, and you really need to start profiling that person. If it startles them to where they're looking and they don't see you, and they kind of turn their head to see you where you went, that's when you raise your situation awareness from yellow to orange. You need to get in that orange. And maybe even say, hey, we got a guy walking in, we might need to check out, stuff like that on the radios. Doors and windows are up to date with the latest available security updates. This can get expensive, but you do need to keep up with good updates. If you've got old dilapidated doors that are easy to get into, get rid of them, get new doors, some that lock, so that will prevent somebody coming in if possible. Okay, outside check system. You want it documented. You want a documented weekly checkoff inspection system in place to ensure the safety of those attending events, whether it's worship services or whether it's other events. This should include no graffiti or controversial items are present, no suspicious items, trash is removed. The trash you won't remove for aesthetics, as well as you don't want to invite critters in. You don't invite, raccoons. You don't want to invite deer, bear, depending on where you're at. You don't want to invite that in. Playground equipment is safe and free from items that are health hazards. Make sure there's no splinters on the wood playgrounds. Make sure that if you got screws and stuff, they're all properly secured. They're not poking out or sticking out so they can cut or scrape some kid or something. Checks should be completed prior to the day's planned activities. So if you got the safety team members coming in early, they grab a checkoff list, they walk around the building, they do their checkoff. Graffiti you want to get rid of right away, as soon as possible. I understand if you go in and there's graffiti on the back side of the building, but the service is going to be held, you don't have time, but get it off that afternoon. Get out there and get it off, wash it, paint it, whatever you got to do, because if it's left over there and you forget about it and then people come back, well, they haven't seen our graffiti, that's kind of a marking for them so they know they can do other stuff. They didn't pay attention to that, so let's go do some other stuff. So get it down so they know, say, oh, they noticed it, so this may not be the place we need to do stuff at. Your line of sight, views are free from obstruction from outside the parking lot, so basically you want to be able to see from your front door guard, or greeter, whatever you're going to call him, can see into the parking lot from that front door. It'd be good to be able to see the playgrounds. If not, have cameras on that playground, and of course have your playgrounds fenced in. Walkways are visible from the entry doors. That way they can just look out, see who's coming down the walkway and stuff like that. If not visible, have cameras on them. If you got a side walkway and you can't see it from that front door, have a camera on it. Staff parking, if you have staff, if it's identified, have it easily visible from the door person outside, or if you're leaving, you can leave and you can look out the parking lot. You can see your cars over here, and there's nobody around it. But if you can't see it, there could be people waiting on you. If not, have cameras on them so they can check out that camera and say, okay, my car's clear, I can walk out, I'll lock the doors, and I'm good to go. Just more safety measures. You want your local law enforcement familiar with the property. You want to ask them to do safety checks. They can ride through at night and stuff like that, check out your property, include them in safety safety planning. Say, hey guys, this is what do you suggest? And go with their suggestions. They'll suggest a lot of stuff that I went over in the fundamentals, which was the almost 2 hour long video. There's a lot of stuff in that video. If you haven't checked it out, go take some time and check it out. But they'll add a lot of that stuff. So take their advice. So, okay. And not all congregations are going to be able to implement everything, but all of you can implement some things. So you got the smaller congregations that don't have as much money. You may not be able to get the more expensive stuff, but you can get some of the cheaper stuff, and you can get people working together to pull things together. Make sure law enforcement has an up-to-date emergency contact information just in case. Neighborhood watch or neighbor watch. This would be especially in business areas. You've got businesses right next door to you. Get emergency contact info. Give it back and forth. Exchange it. That way, if you see somebody breaking in their place, you can call them and the police, or if they see something going over your place, the same thing. So you can kind of watch each other's back. Again, security cameras. Security cameras are big. They're good eyewitnesses. They're good things. They're deterrents. Or if something does happen, you get it on camera. One of the places I was at, they had a incident before they had security cameras. They had somebody pulled around back and basically raped a girl. No cameras. The police come by and say, hey, we need to see your camera footage. Somebody was raped back here. It's like, well, we don't have cameras. They're like, what do you mean you don't have cameras? You need cameras. Get you some cameras. And they were adamant about it. So at that point, we got cameras. I also suggest because that could also get into liability issues as well on your property. Um, Depending on the state, depending on what's going on, but it could. Um, I also suggest having one exit, have literally a marked one exit so people can come in one way and they can exit out, or they can come in more than one, but they can exit out that one way. That's where you want to kind of direct everybody to. And at that exit point, if somebody does come on your property and they leave out that exit, it's easier to go out that exit, have a license plate camera. So if something did happen in back, you got what the car looks like, plus you have the license plate as they're leaving out. Um, Highly suggest that. Chemical storage, cleaning chemicals, gasoline, oil, etc., are stored in secure areas. You may have to have a firebox. Some places require fireboxes instead of just in the shed. They may have to be in a firebox in the shed, stuff like that. All right, moving inside, we want lighting in the entryways. We want them well lit along with the hallways. We want everything lit up. You might want to put them on automatic lighting, um, which is the next line. It says lighting has been updated to auto on off in key areas. So you might want your fellowship hall automatically lighted. You may want your hallways automatically lighted. I don't suggest the classrooms automatically lighted unless you can cut the automatic lights off. I think they make them. I know they make the ones that just automatically light, but I think they make the ones you can push a button and it shuts them down. So I wouldn't put them in the classrooms without the ability to turn them off. Hallways are clear and not used for storage. Get all the storage out of the hallways. Make them clear. Make it where people can go in and out easily. You don't want accidents down hallways. That's where lawsuits happen. And again, as much as we like to think, well, this is a church, we're told not to sue our brother. And yeah, well, we're told not to doesn't mean that they won't. So make sure that you got your safety checks in place. Classrooms, easy entry and viewing from outside the classroom. Make sure they're easy to get into and make sure you got that window on the door. I suggest that it be a security window to where it's hard to get into or almost impossible to get into. I suggest it's a hardened door with a security window. But when the security walks by, they can see into that classroom, so the teachers in there know it's like, okay, security's going to be walking by, watching me, and all that stuff. And as much as we like to think teachers are great people, they have been those that have taken advantage of kids and stuff like that. We want to prevent that. We want to get that opportune moment out of the window. And again, if you have a teacher that has one student in there, get somebody else in there with them. Have at least two adults at that point. One teacher with like 6 kids is one thing, but if you got one teacher and one kid, especially a male and a female of, in the teenage class, get another teacher in there, get another female in there. You don't want um, liability issues related to that as well. Um, You want the classrooms lockable from the inside. I do understand that some coding in areas you can't actually put locks on the door, but you can have locking mechanisms. The ones that slide under the door real good. You slide them under and you lock them down, and the active shooter can't get in that door as well. Make sure that lights can shut off and you can cover the windows. 99% of the time, those windows are open. You want to keep them open during class. You want people to be able to see in and out. But if an active shooter comes in, you want to close the window, lock the door, close the window, and turn the light out. And of course, get your people huddled maybe behind a desk or something, just in case you decide to start shooting through the door. You've got a little more protection there. And child areas are locked down. If you got nurseries and stuff like that, you'll want them locked down. Don't want people that can just come in and out. You want them to be kind of vetted as they come in and out. So they come to the door, somebody have to let them in or let them out and stuff like that. All right, the worship center, make sure you walk through it prior to the service, looking for any unwanted items, any safety hazards, any backpacks, boxes, stuff like that. Somebody might have walked in, left a backpack in there with something in that shouldn't be in there, a bomb or something. Check it. Get everything checked. You don't want something happening to your congregation, to your visitors, to your members, whoever's in there. You don't want something happening to them. Alarm system, you want it updated and functioning. You do want an alarm system. I suggest a really good, a loud alarm system that not only alarms outside but alarms inside, so it's ear piercing. So when the criminals go in, it hurts their ears so much they want to get right back out, and it notifies police. Entry doors, locks are changed or rekeyed to ensure limited access. If you have everybody's got a key and your congregation's getting bigger, you need to limit that to key players. You need the master keys are numbered and limited to key personnel, and then step down. So you've got the master keys, certain people getting everything, then a lower level, certain people getting some stuff, and then like teachers and stuff, they may only need to get in their classrooms, the library, the supply room, stuff like that, maybe into the building, but only those other doors. And as well, if you have somebody quit or something, get their key back, change the locks. I like the key fobs, the electronic keying system, so that you can shut the key fob off. So if you have a disgruntled member or disgruntled employee that walks out, you can shut that key fob down. Even if they haven't quit or left, you can shut it down just in case. This is what happened at the active shooting at the place I worked, or I used to work. Um, we had key fobs, so we just hit our key fob and go in the door. Guy quit Monday night. They left. They didn't shut his key fob down the next day. He come back in. The key fob still worked, and he shot the place up. So make sure you lock that stuff down. You get the key fobs locked in or locked out if they if even if it's just a bad argument, lock that key fob out, and then you can reinstate it after everything's smoothed over. All right. Inventory. Set a monetary amount to account for and include the kitchen, worship center, classroom, sound equipment, files, sporting equipment, maintenance equipment, vehicles, etc. This is for insurance purposes. So if somebody comes in and steals all your sound equipment or steals all your live um, uh, audio, video feed equipment, all your TVs, whatever you got, projectors. Projectors are expensive. I know some of the projectors, $10,000, $15,000 isn't unreal. Even in my little place where I do my instruction, $1,500 isn't unreal for a projector. That's not cheap. Um, Bigger churches, it's not going to be a big deal with $1,500, but they may have a $15,000 projector, or that live feed camera may be a couple grand. That's what a good one usually runs, $1,000, $2,000, depending on how far back it needs to be. So get all that stuff, and again, it's for insurance purposes, and you need insurance on all your stuff. Make sure you have proper insurance that covers everything, and have all that stuff listed. Have your inventory with serial numbers, have it pictures of it, have it all logged in, have it on a computer file or a USB drive or an external hard drive, and have two copies, and one at the church and one at maybe an elder's house or one of the safety team lead's house in a safe somewhere. If you've got some guys that have gun safes, they can put it in one of those so it would be protected, and when it needs updating, they can bring it to the church and have it updated. And then again, I highly suggest considering engraving systems. They even make, for some of your more expensive stuff, they make GPS tracking devices now that you can actually just sticker on it. If you've got vehicles and stuff like that, you may want to consider that as well. All right, so we've got fraud prevention. You want a system of checks and balances in place to detect any suspicious fraud activities of any type. You want to know if somebody tries to hack your YouTube and stuff, and try to hack your Facebook, stuff like that. You don't want somebody hacking your YouTube live feed or your live streaming on your website and then start throwing up all kind of crazy stuff. So that's where you want the password protection in as well, to make sure you ensure frequent changes to your passwords so you can prevent all that stuff. You want your wireless network secure as well, so potential viruses and unauthorized people hacking in. We do online giving. That's a way to do it. We can do online giving instead of in-house giving anymore. We've a lot of places that went online. The majority probably. Make sure all that's secure. We don't want fraudulent. We don't want people coming in there and hacking and taking money out or having money sent somewhere else. I knew a guy one time. He ended up getting caught. A genius idea, a criminal, but genius. I was a lot younger, and he was talking to us and whatever, and he had set up a way to where he was going to put a virus into the bank, and he was going to have a penny deposited from every transaction. 1 penny was just going to go into this one account. Genius. You're not going to miss a penny, but you need to put stuff in place to stop all of that. Now, he was stopped before he was able to implement all that stuff. For one, he was talking to the wrong people, but anyway. All right, you want child adult online protection? I highly suggest if you have a Wi-Fi settings for your members, you can get the equipment that will stop them from getting on certain websites. I highly suggest that. I highly suggest, any kind of adult site, but I also suggest not allowing them to get on Facebook, not allowing them to get on Instagram. You can block all that with certain equipment, and I suggest blocking all that. They're allowed to go to certain spots. They can go to an online Bible referencing and stuff like that, but they couldn't get into any kind of online adult sites or Facebook and chats and stuff like that. I suggest it, and you can have several Wi-Fi's. Maybe y'all need to get into Facebook to feed your live, but your member Wi-Fi feed, have it really regulated. Now I understand they can get on their own cell signal, but they're not doing it through your Wi-Fi, because you don't want trouble coming of that, a liability as well. Oh, well, they were on your Wi-Fi when they were looking at pornography. They were on Wi-Fi when they got pornographic pictures sent to them. That's liability to the church, so you need to block all that out. The facility map, make sure you have a diagram of the building and locations of classrooms posted for easy viewing and for those assisting visitors and for emergency responders. Emergency exits, you want them posted, so I need to go this way. It shows the meeting location, as well as you need numbers on your doors. You need your doors labeled, 1, 2, 3, ABC, or A1, A2, A3, stuff like that. It could be Hall 1, so it could be H1, H2, H3, H4, or it could be, hallway number 2, so then you would figure that out as well. Make sure they're numbered and easy to get around your place. You don't want people looking around wondering what's what. Your bathroom's labeled, restrooms this away. If it's down a hall or something, restrooms this away. Have that sign up and posted. Your medical equipment needs to be up to date with items needed and easily accessible with adequate signage on location. So if you got an AED on the corner, you need AED posted up. So AED's over there, or your first aid bag over here, have it posted so people can run to it. Or you might have a first aid room or a medical room and just put first aid room, and people can run over to it and grab what they need. On the medical as well, have an updated list of medical personnel who are members, easily accessible for the safety security team. Have that information, have all of their up-to-date certifications, have all that accessible so you can have it flagging on calendars as well. So it's like, okay, his CPR is coming due. Now, most of you are going to do a lot of CPR at one time. So I highly suggest, even if somebody's is up to date, go ahead and let them go ahead and retake it. So everybody's expires at the same time. It expires next month. Go ahead and get it all taken care of this month, and you can have all 20 of you certified at one time. That way you're not having to send somebody here and send somebody there, or even have an in-house certification guy. It's not that hard to become CPR, a certified CPR trainer. It's not that hard, or first aid trainer. It's not that hard to get. Somebody that's willing to do it, pay them. Pay them to go get certified. Pay them to do the courses, and just make it worth their while if needs be. Law enforcement, make sure they have a blueprint, floor plan, classroom locations on facility, walk them through, get on the same page just in case something does happen and they have to come through. All right, so there's questions you want to ask your staff. And this is your safety team, medical team, deacons, elders, bishops, whatever kind of church you are, your ministers, whoever it is, whoever's on your staff. If you've got paid secretaries and stuff, just ask your staff, say, hey, in your dealings with members, do they feel safe? Do our visitors feel welcome? Does our staff, do they feel confident that any issues will be handled properly by the team members? Ask that aside of the team, or even ask that with the team, because you're going to have a lot of your team members that they come in and they do what they're supposed to, but they may be like, hey, you know what? If something happens, I don't know that we all can handle it. I don't even know that I can handle it. Stuff like that, and they may not, so they may need training. So you need to ask these questions. Do you have a crisis management plan in place? And does everybody understand their role? Do you have those SOPs, standards of practice? It depends on what field you're in. If you're in business, your standards of practice. If you're in medical, it's scopes of practice. So that SOP, have them there. Have your medical team with their scope of practice, their SOPs, the team, the safety team, and the church in and of itself, just the organization in and of itself, SOPs. You want all that laid out of what to do, and everybody understands what's going on and what their role is. After you get all that down, then what needs were found in the assessment, and where do we start with those needs? So one of your needs might be, well, we need radios. So where do you start? You start looking for radios with your little in-ear comms. So you got your little in-ear here, and you can tap it here. It may be voice activated. They make some really fancy ones you can get, or they make some lower end ones that you might have to push a button or something. Fancy ones voice activate. Others you push a button. So that's things you do. Or do we need a wheelchair ramp? Or does this tree need to be cut down? Or do we need a fence around the playground? Or does playground equipment need to be updated? Does the doors need to be updated? Stuff like that. This gives you bases. And you need to do this checklist. The overall checklist, you need to do it, I would say, quarterly. I wouldn't do it yearly. I would do it quarterly. And these questions, I would ask these every month. What do we need? What are we looking at? What do we got to do? Just to keep on top of your safety and stuff. As much as we think, well, we're going to church, well, you need to treat your church as a business because it is a nonprofit 503c. I believe that's the correct numbers. You need to treat it as a business, and you need to understand that you're just as liable as any other business. And you need to understand that. So you need to take precautions, you need to do checklists, and you need to do all this. Guys, I hope this helps. Helps you out for those of you trying to get going, or some of you that may have missed some of this stuff, may not be doing some of it. It helps you implement some stuff. So I hope this helps you out. This is Spencer with Defense Training. Stay safe, stay armed.
Please like, subscribe, and comment on this video below. Thanks.